Good evening and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View this evening. How you all doing today? Have you all calmed down? Well calmed down after the it's a bad result yesterday. Bad day at the office. Celtic dropped points. YouTube's dead the next day. But anyway, move on. Just jumping on one of the comments here. Just driving his comments. Total overreaction to defeat. We started well. The players seem to drop back to playing Rodgers' system. More training ground tactics will have us in good shape. Pun intended. Yeah, there's a lot of Kieran Tierney's been speaking to the media. God, I tell you one thing, I need to stop doing early morning videos. I look like shit this morning in the video. But anyway, Kieran Tierney says that Celtic need to get it right quick under Wilfred Nancy. He says that, it was a bad day in the office as we plundered 2 goals with no response, and then Kieran Tierney scoring the goal that actually brought us back into the game, but it was far too late on for Celtic to do anything really. Wilfred Nancy has been, we knew it was going to be a bad and a hard week for Wilfred Nancy to come into Celtic. With the fact that he come in and it was against Hearts, there couldn't have been a tougher game in the SPFL at the current moment. There couldn't have been a tougher game for him to come in. And if he had won the game, he would be a legend. If we draw the game, there would be questions. When we lose the game, there's an outcry. That's the same as any Celtic manager. It was the same under Brendan Rodgers, but Brendan Rodgers at that time, when we got beat off the Hearts before, Brendan Rodgers threw the players under the bus. He threw the players, he called them Honda Civics. But we move on from Brendan Rodgers, that's for sure. Celtic went into the Hearts game on a straight run of 5 victories under Martin O'Neill, and obviously everyone's saying, look, keep on Martin O'Neill at the end of the season. That was never going to happen. People still online saying we should have kept him till the next transfer window. For football reasons, you could say, yes, keep Martin O'Neill to win the cup next weekend. Feel good factor. But what if Martin O'Neill had lost that game also? If Martin O'Neill had lost that game, same players, same attitude, Martin O'Neill might have lost a bit of his legendary status. And maybe Martin O'Neill just got out at the right time. We got lucky with Martin O'Neill. That's the way I see it. That the new Celtic boss will be working with his squad tomorrow to iron out any flaws in the system. We're in a title race this year. It's something that we've all... Do you know that you can't please Celtic fans? You can't please them because I had a look back at some of the... And I was going to take screenshots, but I was scrolling through my phone on the early games under Ange Postecoglou. And the comments then were just as bad. There was a lot of regret about bringing this guy in from the other side of the world. And fans weren't too keen on him. They weren't too keen on him at all. It wasn't just other fans from other teams that say that this guy was going to be done by Christmas. There were Celtic fans saying that Ange Postecoglou was going to be done by Christmas. We've got the cup final this weekend. We've got a massive game in the Europa League, and if we want to qualify, we need to win that game. Europe now takes centre stage. Can he change enough? And we'll get on to the Alistair Johnston's bit in a minute, because Alistair Johnston's been talking to the press in Canada. Kieran Tierney says we need to get it right. We need to be doing the work. We need to do everything that we can, and we've got to do the work that we need quick. Says the potential impact of the manager's first week in the technical area on the remainder of the campaign could be huge, given the enormity of the encounters that playing against Hearts is now facing. Having faced the table toppers twice now this season, we've got a Euro tie against an Italian team that are doing well, and we need to get something from that. Will the fans ultimately, going into a Europa League game, Will the fans make some noise for the boys? Something gets rung out over the tannoy before every game, but I don't think that there's the appetite for. And it doesn't matter who would have came in at this point, be it Wilfred Nancy, be it Pep Guardiola, be it Martin O'Neill to the end of the season. Martin O'Neill would have started to lose games. He would have started to drop points. Martin O'Neill would never have went on a fantastic run right up until the end of December and not lost a game. Not with this current Celtic team. Not a chance. So I think that it doesn't matter who came in at this point. They're on a win. They're on a whim to nothing because of the toxicity around the club at the moment. You know, the fans, and fair play to all the fans around the stadium holding up the banners at the beginning of the match, but we need to give this guy a chance. Because if say we get beat, say there's the almighty fucking, we get beat by Roma, massive possibility that'll happen, massive possibility, and then say the unthinkable happens, and I don't think it will. I don't think that we'll lose the cup final. I think that the players can ignore managers on the pitch, and I think that that's what kind of happened at the weekend. You know, the second half we reverted into. I mean, the manager must have been sitting there going, "What the fuck are they doing? Why they're not doing what we spoke about in training?" As soon as players cross the touchline, as soon as they go into that pitch, whatever the managers told them all week long can go out the window. Player could be pissed off with his bird for last night, pissed off with the missus, pissed off with the kids. Anything. It could be a number of things that's going on in the back of a player's head that when he crosses the line, he's fucking not in the mood. It could be a number of things. You know, concentrates for the first 20 minutes on the game and then fucking starts losing the fucking plot. It is football players, they're human beings. Pep would love to manage Celtic deep down. I would love to have him at Celtic. But do you really think that Pep Guardiola would have this Celtic team playing any better than what Martin O'Neill did? Lorna says, we were rotten when Ange first came in. Yep. We were that. We've been rotten all season, this season. But anyway, next game he needs to leave the tactics board behind. Shocking when I saw it. Yeah, it was shocking when I saw it, to be honest. I mean, I've never saw that in, I think I've maybe saw it in one, I can't remember what game it was, but I have seen a coach sitting with a tactics board just to get his point across to players, and I can't remember what game it was, years ago. But I mean, I put a thing up on the Facebook page. Top coaches all use these boards. Martin O'Neill would use it on paper. Do you know, you'd see them with the tactics board in the dressing room, and to get their point across. I think the fact that it was a silly little Connect Four type thing, and he brought it out, and what made it even more embarrassing is the fact when he's talking to Kieran Tierney, and he's telling Kieran Tierney to put a message onto the players, and you've got Derek McInnes walking over and going, "What the fuck is he doing?" Huh? Do you know what I mean? He's seen. I always think big managers getting messages to players, and big managers, it happens at all levels. Big managers change the tactics. I think just doing it in such an obvious way was that was the embarrassing part. Don't know, there's many times that you see managers writing down on a bit of paper, giving it to a player, give that to the captain then reads it, scrumples it up and sticks it in his pants. Do you know, so that the opposing team can't get it. Sticks it in his socks so the opposing players can't see what the and I think that, was it naive of Wilfred Nancy to get the tactics board out, or was it, do you know, he felt frustrated? Did he feel frustrated? We could turn this around, actually, that the manager felt frustrated with the players. There's two ways to look at it. We're all pointing at him and saying, what a fucking idiot he is. What an absolute Coco the Clown. Do you know, tactics boards, why the fuss? can bring out a 72 inch to see you giving the results. Maybe we should turn this around and say and take the heat off the manager. And maybe podcasts like myself should have done that. And I should have turned it around and went, well, it's the players' fault. Players aren't listening to what they were told. Do you know? And he felt that the only way to get his point across was to grab the captain over. And you notice how it's Callum McGregor that has been doing his captain thing. But it's interesting that Kieran Tierney spoke to the media after it also, and talking about that the players need to get it right. I think what you'll see now, and you've seen Alistair Johnston talking to the media back home, I think what you'll see now coming out of Celtic is the top players in the club, the players that are important. Your Canadian right back, he's got a massive part to play at Celtic now. I mean, it was only a few months ago that Alistair Johnston was linked with a move away from Celtic. He was linked with Inter Milan back in the summer because he was that damn good. Now, this manager made Alistair Johnston the player that he is. He got Alistair Johnston playing the way that he does. He got Alistair Johnston noticed by Celtic. And then at that point, he gets his move. He's spoken to the media back home. You've got to remember that Alistair Johnston could have been sold in the summer if he got a bid in for 10 million. I think Alistair Johnston would have been sold by Celtic quite easily. He was linked with Inter Milan. He was linked with clubs down south. It's maybe a godsend. See the way to look at it. It's going to be weird to think about it like this, but maybe the saving grace of this season is that Alistair Johnston got injured early. And that Alistair Johnston now, he reckons he'll be back for the second half of the season, which means that he must be ready for coming back in January or so, February maybe. He wants to be back and fit for the second half of the season. He wants to go to the World Cup. He says, just talking about playing Scotland. But the fact that there was English clubs looking at Alistair Johnston knows the manager inside out. I think that Alistair Johnston would be very reluctant to leave Celtic anytime soon. He'll not be moving away in the summer. We can forget any notion about Alistair Johnston getting a big move in the summer. Even if he does well in the World Cup, I don't think that will be enough for teams to come out and spend 10 million. But I don't. And plus, I think that Alistair Johnston, he's in a happy place just now. And I don't see him wanting to move away anytime soon. And the fact that Wilfred Nancy's came in, and he's backed the manager. He's backed the manager for sexy football, entertaining football. You know, Alistair Johnston says he predicted that the new manager, Wilfred Nancy, will get the hoops playing beautiful football, but admits that it comes to one thing and one thing first. He says he needs to concentrate on winning. It's the way it is at Celtic. Having been at Celtic for 2 years, he says he's thrilled to link up with the former manager, but he's warned the manager and he's told him, you just need to win games. You can change things as you're going along. He said that he's excited to have him here. He says the biggest thing that he will notice is that it's completely different from Major League Soccer in America. He says you don't get nearly as much time here as he will have noticed. Because let's face it, a manager coming in, bringing in new tactics, having 2 days worth of training, and it not going his way, would think, right, okay, we put in a good performance. And maybe his statement was a bit naive and he doesn't know that the Celtic must win every single game. Don't know, I think that the Celtic hierarchy, people at Celtic, maybe this is why we should have kept Fozzie. Maybe Gordon Young Strachan isn't the ideal person. Maybe someone at Celtic should have pulled him aside when he came in and said, look, you're going to have to win your first game. And he'll be like, yeah, fucking easy. Yeah, we'll do it. No, mate, listen, I need to tell you this. I need to be straight with you. I think we need someone like that. And people will say, well, that was Martin O'Neill. You know, Martin O'Neill should be in the back. Martin O'Neill had his word with him. someone has to come in and say, and I think he'll know it himself, the absolute meltdown yesterday, and let's just hope that he doesn't do it social media. Going by his LinkedIn profile, he doesn't do social media, which is a good thing. He's never been on social media to update his LinkedIn he doesn't even do anything on LinkedIn. But anyway, the the media outcry, the media inquisition. He would have thought it was the Spanish Inquisition after the game yesterday. And let's just hope that he is allowed the time to concentrate. But Alistair Johnston saying that he's excited, and yes, you want to implement your ideas, but he's also told the manager you need to win as well. He says hopefully we'll be able to do a lot of winning and play some beautiful football, because that is Wilfred Nancy's system, and that's what it's all about. It's all about playing beautiful football, and I think we need to keep that in mind. He said, Alistair Johnston, after Brendan Rodgers resigned, they said it was a whirlwind. I'd never been in the situation before when a manager left under those circumstances, especially mid-season. It took a bit longer to find a replacement. We had Martin O'Neill come in. He said he's a legend, not just at Celtic, but across the UK. He's an unbelievable man, says Alistair Johnston. He says he did a great thing. He did a great job for about 4 or 5 weeks, for 5 weeks. And then it's all about who the new manager would be. I heard some rumblings behind the scenes. Obviously, I'm still close with people in Montreal. So I sent them some messages over to ask if they knew if anything was happening. And he come back to them and they said it was odd, because obviously he's an old manager of mine, but now he is a new manager. I've got a great relationship with him. He definitely enjoyed his football, especially playing under him. I got a move to Celtic. So it worked out pretty well for me, Alistair Johnston said. Hopefully we can replicate that at Celtic. He says he's now got his French book back out, and he says his English is completely different from what it was when he was at Montreal. And he's also said that Scottish is completely different. Speaking of Canadian TV, he said that he was ready for the second half of the season after his hamstring surgery. He says it's been a nightmare campaign because of injuries. Eventually, I had to go under the knife, but on the road to recovery, despite desperate to get back to full fitness and be in peak condition for the World Cup. He says it was great to get the surgery. I'm feeling much better now. Hopefully, that will clear up any potential re-injury happenings. He says, I feel ready, that I'll be ready to go for the second half of the season, and that I can have a good lead up to the World Cup. That's the plan. That's the plan. So he's looking forward to getting back into some football. And it'll be good for Celtic to have him back. And where does he play within the Wilfred Nancy system? That's the question that a lot of Celtic fans will ask, because did he play in a back three, or did he play in a system that was where he was further forward? It's an interesting one. But there was a thing that I was looking at on Twitter, actually, and I wonder where it is. Let me just see. Hey, perfect. And is this one? Nope. Can't find it now. See, when you're looking for something, you can't find it. Can't find it. No, there was news coming out tonight that the World Cup will include a 3-minute hydration break during the game of each half during all games. In other words, the Americans want adverts during the game of football. 45 minutes is too long to have without adverts. I'm not watching any football. Playing KT as a winger, at least I can whip in a no-nonsense crossing. I think that's all good. Thank you for the super chat, Danny. Chopper says playing Kieran Tierney as a winger. At least he can work in a no-nonsense crossing. You can't play him as a winger as yet. That may come. But when we look at the squad of players we've got, look at the squad of players. Because this is what he's having to deal with. The manager. Teams. Under no idea what the split screen will be like. Oh, no, it's all fucked up, isn't it? You look at the players that we've got, and the players that were brought in. I've just remembered who it was. Players that came in this season at Celtic for big money and have done absolutely nothing. This was a post that was on Twitter. Celtic purchased 3 attackers during the summer in the transfer window for around £12 million. We're now in December and they've registered just 1 goal and 1 assist between the 3 of them. Shin Yamada, Tenekti, and Mikkel Ange Balak Wisha. Waste of money. This comes down to the fact that Celtic, there's a lot wrong at Celtic. A lot wrong at Celtic. And with the money that we've spent, since Ange Postecoglou, Celtic have spent around 77, and this is to the people that say that Celtic don't back the manager. Over the last 4 years, we've spent £77 million on players. That includes 26 permanent transfers, with 5 of them being free agents. 26 of those. When you look at the players that have come in over since 2023-24 transfers, Nico Kuhn, 3 million. We sold him to Serie A for 15 million. Mark Norowski, 4.3 million. Lewis Palmer, 3.4 million. Gustav Lagerbielke, 3 million. Odom Ohm, 2.6 million. Yang, 2.1 million. Marco Tilio, 1 million. Sold to Rapid. Kwon, 1 million. Tomoki Awata, 800,000. 24-25 season. Arne Engels, 11 million. Jota, 8.4 million. I don't think we paid that much for Jota, did we? I thought it was only 6 million. Adam Ida, 9 million. Austin Trusty, 6 million. Paolo Bernardo, 3.5 million. Luke McCowan, 1 million. Sinisalo, 1 million. Kasper Schmeichel was a free transfer. 25-26 transfers. Tenekti, this is this season that we're dealing with. Tenekti, 5.2 million. Mikkel Ange Balak Wisha, 5 million. Shin Yamada, 1.5 million. Benji Nigrin, 1.3 million. Hateo Inamura, 250 grand. Still don't know why we bought him. Kieran Tierney didn't cost us a penny. Iniacho didn't cost us a penny. Ross Dohan didn't cost us a penny. And Callum Osmond didn't cost us a penny. When you look at all those players that have come in, and yes, some of them, and a lot of them have left the club now. When you look at the players that came in from previous seasons under Brendan Rodgers, Kuhn left the building, Rocky left the building, Lewis Palmer out on loan, Gustav Lagerbielke left the building, Odom Ohm still out on loan, Yang, Marco Tilio is out on loan. No, Marco Tilio has been sold now. Kwon sold. Tomoki Awata sold. And we didn't really replace them with any type of quality. That's 8 players have left the club and we didn't bring players in. You cannot blame the board. And I don't want to get in a whole board versus managers thing tonight. You know, the board have backed the managers over the last 2 seasons. And has it been the manager? I mean, you can't. I mean, you could. There is a bit that will say, why did Brendan Rodgers sign off the deal for Rocky, Lewis Palmer, Gustav Lagerbielke, Odom Ohm, Yang, Marco Tilly was already here under the previous manager. and allow them not to play them. Do you know, we have to give the current manager a bit of breathing space, because when you look at the players that have been brought in for big money, Jota out injured, we're not going to see him for months. Adam Ida is being sold. Trusty, he's not been fit half this season. We've just got him back over the last number of weeks, and thankfully, because Cameron Carter-Vickers is out injured. Paulo Bernardo, I feel sorry for that lad. $3.5 million after his loan deal, and I don't know what he has to do to get into this team. How Paulo Bernardo does not get a start before Rio Hitati sometimes. I mean, Rio Hitati must look like a bloody superstar in training. He must be walking about training like he's the big I am. And then when he gets onto the pitch, he goes absolutely. He just goes hiding. Going to jump into some of these comments. The players are rotten. There's a number of poor performances, even under O'Neill. We need a serious clear out in January. Yeah, the players are rotten. And should we then be turning around and say that the manager can't be a bad manager just overnight? He can't be a bad manager when you've got the likes of Alistair. Johnston said he did fantastic for my career. He was fabulous for my career. He turned me into an international player that plays regularly for Canada. He improved me that much that Celtic came calling. Do you know? Anyway, I'm just running through some of the comments. My only concern with William Nancy trying to force players onto a system rather than playing a system that suits our current squad, maybe changes should have waited until we bring in different players. Martin O'Neill changed the system. And he got results. It would have been interesting if Martin O'Neill did stay to this game, to the game yesterday and the Roma game and then the cup final. Because if Martin O'Neill had lost against Hearts, because Hearts are a good side, and the results beforehand, you were thinking that it was going to be Celtic's all day long, and it should have been. But it's the same issues that we've been talking about since January. Don't have a decent striker. Johnny Kenny, he's not the answer. Celtic have always had fantastic big name strikers. Dyson Maeda isn't the answer at Celtic. He's never been an out and out striker. I think that his game shows that he's not an out and out striker. Do you know, he's a fantastic player, but it shows you the fucking hell of a mess that we're in. And just berating the manager and saying, yeah, it's the board's fault. The previous two managers have a lot to do, and to know about the fact that we don't have a youth system where we can bring in players for the youth system. But anyway, what will the board do in January? God knows they're capable of doing anything. I think that we're going to be pleasantly surprised. I say that in hope. I do say that in hope more than anything. It's not that I have any inside information, but you would think, thinking about it logically. I mean, people will say they're not going to back this manager. We're going through a period of managed decline. They have to back the manager because the players that we've got just doesn't. They're not going to do it. They're not good enough. Do you know what I mean? Just see. But I mean, when we get covered at the back, Trusty, Donovan, Scales, like Kane, yeah. But we do need better players. Donovan, young player. Do you know what I mean? Can he play in a back three? We don't know. Is he good enough to play in a back three? When you've got Dane Murray, is Dane Murray the answer? Is Dane Murray just the next Stephen Welsh? Great player, great attitude, coming through the system, maybe not just hitting the heights. that we need at Celtic. Martin O'Neill seemed to think that Dane Murray's got a great potential. Brendan Rodgers thought he had great potential. But when you're coming into a team like Celtic, you really need to up your game. Shin must be shite if we keep preserving with Dies Meiser in his current form. He must be. And people, and this drives me as well. It's hilarious more than anything, but it drives me nuts. It's when people come in and you see it online. It's why is he not playing Shin Yamada? Why is he not playing Shin Yamada? Why does he hate Shin Yamada? Why did the managers hate Shin Yamada? You need to be questioning the player's attitude. Do you know? And he must be shite. He must be terrible. But then that comes back down to the we should go for Devlin in the midfield. Nah, he's a wee hun, is he no? He'd never. I get what you're saying, but he's not a Celtic player, is he? And I don't think that Devlin up his game for. I mean, Devlin doesn't get near the Scotland squad, so for me, that he doesn't make it. Without our injuries, many other teams in the league, where would they be just now? Yeah, exactly. Do you know what? This is us going through a really, really bad. We're having a really bad season, and we should really laugh at the fact that the league. I mean, the league doesn't lie. We're second in the league, right? We're second in the league, but when you look at it, we are 3 points off of first place. We're 5 goals behind the league leaders on goal difference, and we're way ahead of the chasing pack. Any other season, Celtic would be top of the league just now, because Hearts would be down beside Motherwell, Rangers, Hibernian, Aberdeen on 21, 24, 26 points. Celtic could be sitting at the top of the league just now. And that's a fact. But the worrying point for me is that even at this point of the season, Celtic have drawn 2 games and we've lost 3 games. I've seen Celtic go through seasons where they've only lost 2 games and all season and drawn 3 or 4 games all season. So it's imperative that the manager does get it right over the next couple of weeks. As for Devlin, I don't think that he would be great. Greg Taylor would have been perfect for this. But then Greg Taylor would be playing further forward, wouldn't he? Tonight he's overrated. Balak Wisha not been given much game time. Shin hasn't either. But why, Liam? Why is Shin Yamada not being given game time? You've got to go. You've got to ask, what is he doing in training that he can't get on the bench? Because if Iniacho can get on the bench after being injured, Shin Yamada should be up in it in training and just going into legendary status. But whatever he's doing in training is obviously not catching the manager's eye. Thanks for the super chat, Gareth. Wilfred Nancy's got 3 weeks to assess what he has before the transfer window. Hearts result is rough, but we need to see how we handle his style. He did need to see how we could handle his style, and we need to. Players need to up the game. Do you know, we're putting too much onus on the manager and the manager changing things. That's then bringing our expectation level down and accepting that these players are good enough to be at Celtic. We didn't think that the players were good enough to be at Celtic, some of them at the beginning of the season. Last season, it was a case of get rid of the deadwood. Do you know? And now we're saying that, well, these players, it's not the players' fault, it's the manager. I'm not buying that one at all. And Kieran Tierney isn't buying it because he's come out and said in the media that Celtic need to get a grip. You know, the potential impact of the first manager's week in the technical area is the way it has an effect on the remainder of the campaign could have huge enormity. It says the first domestic silverware is up for grabs at the opportunity against the Saints to snatch a trophy before the turn of the year. Tierney knows the significance of this period and reckons that timing is irrelevant in terms of manager's appointment, given the daily pressures of the club. Kieran Tierney says his exact words. He says that it is irrelevant in terms of when a manager is appointed, given the daily pressure at Celtic. He then goes on to say it's a massive week for the new manager to come in, but that's Celtic. You know, if it came here the week before, it's massive. If it came here the week before that, it's massive. He says there's always pressure and a need to win. There is a lot of pressure at Celtic. That's what we as players want to thrive off. Play big games. I'm sure that he'll be really looking forward to this week. Celtic's defeat at the end of Hearts halted the momentum that we had. That's all it did. Having recovered from an 8-point deficit to draw level in this game prior to the visit, we missed a big chance to pull clear, says Kieran Tierney. Obviously quizzed about the current state of the title race, he says, look, we go toe-to-toe. We're champions. We either win at Parkhead or we don't. We're very respectful of the opponent. They're up there because they deserve to be there. That's what Kieran Tierney says. It's interesting that Kieran Tierney says it is irrelevant when a manager is appointed, because players need to do it week in, week out. And if players don't do it, it's the players that's at fault. So we move on. But a few people are saying that we're missing Greg Taylor. Where would Greg Taylor wouldn't be playing at the back in a back three. He would be further forward. So then that then says, if we're saying that we're missing Greg Taylor, it says to me that the midfield's shite, because Greg Taylor helped the midfield out. So then you're saying that Arnie Engels isn't an £11 million player. Well, this is true. We're a club in utter chaos because the people who run the club. It is ultimately down to them what's happening to the club as a whole. Previous managers have to take responsibility as well. Brendan Rodgers was very, very good at getting us all to believe that this was all the board's fault. The statement, we're going round in circles here, but the statement that Dermot Desmond put out, if there was an ounce of non-truth in that statement, and that Brendan, we need to just calm down and remember, I'm all for getting rid of the board, but let's just take a step back, right? Let's take a step back and look at the wider picture. And we've now had people say, but Martin O'Neill did brilliant. What if Martin O'Neill had stayed and we got the same result yesterday? Would people say that Martin O'Neill's now a shite manager? Because that could have happened. It could have happened. Look at the Midtjylland, the physicality of Hearts in the second half. We were nowhere near it. You look at the physicality. Look at the way look at what Celtic did good in the first half yesterday, closing down, getting on top of Hearts, not letting them play out for the back. Do you know, doubling up on Hearts players. Where did all that go in the second half? Out the window. That's our players' fault. Our players didn't play like the way that the manager wanted to for 90 minutes. That could have happened under Martin O'Neill. That's all I'm saying. And I think that, you know, yes, we want to blame the board for everything and say the board are ultimately to blame for this whole situation at the club. Brendan Rodgers needs to take a big... Why did Brendan Rodgers sanction the sale of Adam Ida? And he didn't have the balls to tell Adam Ida to his face. It was his agent that told him. Didn't even have the balls to tell Adam Ida, look, sorry son, but we're going to sell you. That tells me everything that I need to know about Brendan Rodgers. And the fact that he's then put everything on the board and said, well, the board didn't get in a striker. Wait a minute, Brendan, you didn't get in a striker. You brought in Shin Yamada and you're not playing him. Do you know, so yes, I want rid of the board, but we cannot put the entirety of this situation that we currently find ourselves in on the board. Brendan Rodgers has to take a massive, a big look in the mirror And if what Dermot Desmond said was not true, why is there not been a lawsuit against Celtic? Because you can't go around making exact accusations like what Dermot Desmond did. Dermot Desmond, in his statement, said, "I sat for 3 hours with Brendan in his house, asking him to explain what the board have done not to back him, and he couldn't answer me. He couldn't tell me one thing." But do you know, we're giving this new manager shite and saying that, But anyway, we move on. Too many people wanted Greg Taylor away. Yeah, let them do. 2-1 against Roma. Oh, honestly, yeah, that's a good one. I'll be honest, I've been really disappointed with this way that some of our fans' reaction to Wilfred Nancy. Some seem to know what they want, but they're happy to be angry at the club. I've said this before. The fan movement now is in. They're at a position, for me personally, that they have to put names forward for executives to take over. That's the position that I think that we're in. We have to have someone that comes in, and I'm not saying any more about it, but that's my stance on it. We're at a position now where it comes to any potential movement of the removal of the people that we want removed at the club, we have to now put forward alternatives. Because if you don't put forward an alternative, people won't vote for anything. People won't go for just like, let's get rid of them. Well, who's coming in? Well, it's fucking Jack and Bernard for the fucking Green Brigade. I don't mean that, Benin. So no, it's fucking two guys for the Celtic Trust. We need business people to run the club. It's as simple as that. And until we put names forward, it's okay protesting against the board, and I want board members removed, but we need to have an alternative to get the majority of fans 100%, because 100% of fans aren't backing the whole fans collective. And if you think that they are, you need a wake-up call. Because there is a lot of fans that do not back it. There is a big majority of game-going fans back it. I accept that, and I acknowledge that, and I love that. But there's a lot of fans as well. And they're like, well, tell us who. And I think that has to be the position that the collective go into now. To move forward, we have to get somebody to come up out of the parapet and say, right, I'll do it. I'll take over. But until that happens, Nancy Ball will take over next year. I think that it'll be before next year. 1 goal, 1 assist from 3 strikers. Yeah, exactly. It's unbelievable. Engels did fuck all decent yesterday. I'm sick of that imposter. 9 million. We have no net spendo bars because we sold our great players to buy shite players. Yeah, well, tonight for me, I don't think it's going to be good enough. It's funny because managers can. How many people said, right? People are saying that Tenecti, I'm going to stick up for Tenecti here as a player. How many people said that Greg Taylor was shite? How many people said that Greg Taylor wasn't Celtic standard? Greg Taylor was valued at £8 million at one point by Celtic, and we allowed him to run down his contract. I'm sick of the stack the board crap. Why not support the team? Or are they Huns in disguise? Just one of the comments. We sold quality and brought in. We have to bring in quality. Recruitment. Yeah, the recruitment is a shambles. I agree. I completely agree. Recruitment is a shambles. I feel for Bernardo. I feel for him too. Bernardo can't get a game. Hitati Engo's getting 90 minutes. It's a scandal. Free Paulo. I love that one. Free Paulo. That's just giving me an idea. Um, just I need to text. That's just for me a note. Bernardo can't get a game because Hatate angles are shite. I know. Um, that's one of the biggest and weirdest thing at Scotland just now, and Celtic. Paolo Bernardo's a fantastic player, but whatever he's doing, we all know where the man is decline, blame, reset with free Paolo. Maybe that's what we should start singing instead of free Palestine. Free Paulo B. Free Paulo B. Free Paulo B. And then he comes on and he's shite. If I was Bernardo, I'd be asking for a move. I'm not too sure about that because maybe this manager can see something in Paulo Bernardo to make him great again. Can put the blame on the manager, but each man to man was weak, unacceptable performance. Every single player. There's some players that need a big wake up call about what it really means to be at Celtic, and I think that there's players that definitely the putting in 110%. It'll be interesting come the next window because if we do lose some players in the midfield, and a certain striker, I think we're all excited about the next one. I mean, there's the poll question. I've not even done a poll question tonight. This will really. I should have done it earlier. There's been 1,400 people online, and we're at the end of the. We'll do a quick 10-minute poll. Now that we're in December, I can start talking about it. I might put this up on the main chat as well. Are you excited about the transfer window? There's the poll question for this evening. Are you excited about the transfer window? This will go one of two ways because people will think about it from the board perspective rather than the new manager perspective. So it's going to be an interesting one. See if we can get at least see if we can get 150 votes. There's 288 people, and I should have done it earlier. There's been 1,400 people on the live this evening. Quiet one tonight is as it always is. The night after the day before when it doesn't go the right way. Bernardo definitely deserves a start, and hopefully Wilfred Nancy will give him a chance. Wouldn't be surprised if they don't back this manager in January. I can see the results going from bad to worse, unfortunately, how poor the squad is. Well, if they do not back the manager, this is why I think they'll back the manager. Because if they don't back the manager and then results go the wrong way, the manager then takes the hit. The manager gets the sacked. Surely at that point, Dermot Desmond comes in and says, right, whoa, you's fucked up. You's got in the wrong guy. You's didn't spend money in backing the manager. Surely that has to happen at some point. And then surely heads roll at the top of Celtic. It'll be loans. Will it be loans? Petition to free Bernardo. I'd take Mo Salah on loan. Bernardo is brilliant in the holding role. That would leave Calmette to get forward and shoot because Hatate shites himself when he gets it. Yeah. I want to know. I mean, one of the craziest things that I took from yesterday was playing Callum McGregor on the right hand side of the holding midfield role. He's always been a left-handed side player. He was always left midfield. And I tell you one thing, the poll is going in a direction I didn't think it was. Are you excited about the next transfer window? 54% are saying no, 46% saying yes. It's not going to get many votes. We're lucky to get 100 votes with the people that are online tonight. But it's interesting just to see the thoughts. Maybe do that tomorrow morning. But as it's not just managed decline, it's management decline. That's happened before. It happened under Ronnie Dyler. Don't know. So it's been done all before. Murray not the answer. Just remember Tynecastle. Yep. Why is Sinisalo not getting played? Because Kasper Schmeichel is a number one goalkeeper for his country. Sinisalo's number two. It comes down to experience. That's the only reason. Sinisalo will get his chance next year. Murray won't make it at Celtic is one opinion. The fans' protest from the first whistle on the biggest game was dreadful. Fans don't like it. And put the money up, run the club. Over 90% of shareholders want the board. There's a reason for that. I think that people that go to games are entitled to their opinion, and sometimes when there is, it's always the case, and it's I've seen it online. One of the reasons that I stopped doing Twitter years ago is because when the people that shout the loudest are the ones that are always. If I look at politics from the outside of the UK, the ones that are shouting the loudest right now are people of a right wing leaning, and it looks like the UK is turning into a right wing hellhole. But then you've got people online, and you've got a guy online who used to be a trader, and he's of a left leaning side, but he wants to put on a tax to the rich. He wants to tax the rich, but he doesn't get as much attention online because he's not running with the crowd. And when you've got a lot of people running together, the noise that they make, i.e. the fans collective, it seems to be more than what there is actually there. Does that stop other fans singing at games? I don't know. But when it comes to the shareholder voting thing, I think that was rigged anyway. Chilpel says no to Murray. Just running through some of these comments. Yamada is a lightweight. He must be. He must be a really lightweight. Pay me 5k a week and I'll show you how to pull in the back of the net. Hey, jeez. Our standard getting that low that yeah, exactly, Gav boy. Exactly. The guy couldn't lace Scott Brown's boots. And that's how far back we're going. What does it say for Bernardo? We know he's good. I don't think that Devlin's a wee hun dick. Shin. Celtic usually have a great Christmas. Well, we didn't last year, but we'll wait and see. Might as well just got open the widget. What widget? Nancy has clearly listened to someone else when picking the team. Absolutely no new faces on there. I don't know how many new faces. What new faces would have got into that team yesterday? Given that they had 2 days training with the manager. I mean, Callum McGregor says that players. It always happens. Players come in when a new manager comes in. Players come in and up their game in training. They obviously aren't up in their game in training. Hence the reason that there was no other players on the pitch. Miller not getting a game in Italy. We should get him on loan to buy. That's never going to happen. That will never happen. Shin Yamada hasn't had a chance. Just because you're not great in training doesn't mean that you're going to be shite playing the actual game. Maybe he just doesn't like training. The Miller boat is sailed. Yeah, it has that. It has that. Yeah, I've done that one. We do need to move forwards. I wonder what Martin O'Neill said to Wilfred Nancy when they met up. Good luck. The team's shite. You need new players. That'd be exactly what Martin O'Neill would say. Good luck. The players are shite. You need new players. Martin O'Neill said it. I mean, Martin O'Neill said it at a press conference. My team 25 years ago were a team of men, big men. We've got a team of little skinny, tight wearing jean guys. That's where we're at. The youth of today. Tell me about it. Hearts got lucky yesterday. Yeah, they did get lucky, and we were the way that we've been all season. That's the only way to look at it. Rangers have lost only one game. That's hard to believe. Yeah. Well, it's not, because when you see the draws that they get, and when you see the dodgy decisions that they get in games, I mean, the fact that they've drawn 8 games, how many of their games have been won in the 96th minute, 98th minute? I mean, reality, Rangers should be away down 7th in the league, because they should have lost at least 2 or 3 games that I could think of that they were given a dodgy decision. But it is all about opinions, and VAR is definitely one for an opinion in favour of them. Stephen Johnston says, hit the thumbs up button with a fantastic super chat. Thank you, Stephen. You absolute legend. We need height in the team. We knew that in the summer. Greg Taylor put a ball in. Everyone moaned about his defending. Yeah, this is true, but Kieran Tierney can put a ball in as well. And Kieran Tierney can score more goals than I think than what Greg Taylor will score. And there's a reason that Kieran Tierney's in the national squad and Greg Taylor isn't. I get what you're saying, mate. But he wanted to move on. He wanted to try something new. You never know. Greg Taylor might come back to Celtic in 2 years' time. Do you know, he might get to the end of this season and go, this playing in Greece isn't for me. Do you know, maybe the missus will miss Scotland too much. A bit like Paul Hartley. When Paul Hartley went to, I mean, Greg Taylor's not going to be a Champions League winner. Just let's calm the lid on that. I mean, I don't think that he could lace Paul Hartley's. Paul Hartley. Oh, Jesus, wrong player. But anyway, we move on. Danny Cassie's just come in with a super chat. Also, he doesn't say anything. He just gives the super chat. Thank you for the super chat, Danny. You're a legend. You're a big legend. You're a big legend. Him and Stephen Johnston are the 2 biggest legends on this channel. I'm just saying. Hearts and Rangers will strengthen too. Yep. It'll be interesting to see how much money Rangers spend, because we know that Hearts. I was shit when I trained for my runs. Once I was doing my runs complete, I got a medal at the end. I was a different person. That's Yamada to me, says Michelle. Yamada played for the B team and didn't look good. Yeah, was Yamada not in the team that lost to East Fife? No, that was Callum Osmond, wasn't it? Callum Osmond was in the team that lost to East Fife, and then he wasn't given a chance at Celtic. How can players not be trying and training? There's a new manager to impress. It's a hard one, that. Do you know? And I don't know. There has to be something wrong. I mean, Shin Yamada must be woeful. that he can't get a game, can't even get on the bench. That's all I'm saying. I mean, he must be that far out. I mean, for me, there's a number of players that need to be just sold. I mean, you've then got the this crazy scenario. We're talking about the fact that we're struggling for defenders when we've got a young guy that we brought up from Manchester City, Jemai Simpson Pusey. Nobody's even speaking about him anymore. Nobody's speaking about him at all. He can't even make the bench. What was the point on bringing him on loan? I mean, get rid of Jemai Simpson Pusey. Inamura, I think we're going to be stuck with him for a couple of years. I mean, you could get rid of those two players and bring other players in. Sirachi's on loan. We're not going to buy Sirachi. We need to go out and buy another left back. It's crazy that we're talking about positions that have been problem positions for years. And here we sit coming up to transfer window 2026, January 2026. Kieran Tierney left in 2019. And we've been talking about the left back position since 2019. We're going into 2026 in a couple of weeks, and we're still talking about the left back position being an issue. It's bonkers. It's complete bonkers. Midfield, for me, Benji Negrin, value for money, 1 million we paid for him. Yes, you could say he's value for money. I don't think that we're playing him in his best position. I don't think that anyone at Celtic knows what his best position is. Luke McCown, you know what you're going to get with Luke all day long. He's not a world beater, but he puts in 110%. Paulo Bernardo's the big one. For me, I'd sell Rio Hatate in the next window. He's got 2.5 years left on his contract. Sell him. Yes, he's a top player, Rio Hatate, but he's too inconsistent. If Rio Hatate had been as consistent as a player that was sold for 25 million, Rio Hatate would have been gone a long time ago. And the forward position at the club is just unbelievable. Yang wanted away. Kelechi come in on, and I mean, I still don't rate Kelechi, never had done and never will. Michelangelo Balikwisha, crazy one. We spent big money on him. Crazy big money, and from a Celtic point of view, and he's not produced. 5 million we spent of him. Whoever's been watching him for 2 years, and maybe he's one of the ones that left when Brendan Rodgers left. These are players that Brendan Rodgers was looking at for 2 years. Balikwisha finally gets him in. He's shite. He's thin. He's too thin. He's just absolutely woeful. And then next to him, I mean, you've got Yang that was sold for 3 million. Shin Yamada. He doesn't even look like a football player in his picture. He looks confused. Callum Osman's been the bright spark of the season for me, but hell of it unfortunate. If Callum Osman had not got his injury, if Callum Osman didn't get his injury, he would be a fantastic player for the squad. Apologies, I'm going right through the comments. Jesus, 700 odd comments. The midfield's a big problem. Yep. Give us a phone. It is almost that get Paul the Timothy message as a Geary and say, go and come back. I love McCowan. I think he's got a lot more to give. He does that. I think so. Hitate's like Samaras after 10 minutes. You know, yep. He is. And Samaras, I can remember being at Hampden and we lost the game at Hampden, and Samaras spent most of the match sitting on his arse out on the wing, and he wasn't up for it, and he cost us the game. Cost us the game at Hampden, and it was terrible. But then Samaras is remembered for the next season when he scores. He gets the ball at the halfway line and he runs at Rangers at Ibrox and he scores a cracker of a goal. and you're like, well, it's all forgotten about. That's Hatate, and you're absolutely spot on with that one, mate. I'm going to star that one so that I can come back to it. Who's the star bit not there? Hmm. Um, I think the transfer market will be like the last one, messing about in loan players. Let's hope it's not. Let's hope that it's not. The lack of European experience will be a step too far for Nancy, as they don't know anything about teams, etc. Hmm, I'm not too sure. Kelechi's worst striker I've ever seen in Scottish football. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. What we don't tolerate is having got to remember. Times. Yes, and if anyone is having a go at other members, Chelpel, just put them on a timeout or kick them off. It's not that kind of channel. Thank you for that, mate. Osmond from Jersey made the front paper after he scored against Rangers. There we go. I think that he's been the bright spark of the season. I mean, when we talk about the players that came in, God, I'm way over the hour tonight. Oh, well, geez, what's happening tonight? You're getting me for. You're on free time now. The 2024 25 25-26 transfers this season. Sebastian Tanetti, 5.2 million. Michael-Ange Balakwisha, 5 million. Shin Yamada, 1.5 million. Benji Nigran, 1.3 million. You could say that that was the best, good value for money because he was valued at 6 million. Inamura, never been seen. Tierney, you know what you're going to get with him. Hopefully his fitness improves and hopefully he gets better playing in a different position. Iniacho, signed out of desperation, won't be at the club next season for sure. Ross Dohan, he come back to the club as we needed a third backup keeper. That's the only reason that Ross Dohan. And I thought it was weird that Ross Dohan came back because he was number one. Was he not number one at Aberdeen? But then he ran out of contract at Aberdeen. So it's an interesting one that he's came back to sit on the bench. He's maybe been promised that he's going to be number two to Sinisalo next season. Hence the reason that Sinisalo's going, you know, I know I'm going to be number one next season, but maybe it's time that I go out on loan towards the end of this season. Callum Osmond didn't cost us a penny. We get him from Fulham. And he wasn't fancied by. This is the crazy thing. He wasn't fancied by Brendan Rodgers. Do you know? It's absolutely bonkers that he wasn't fancied by Brendan Rodgers, but he's an absolutely fantastic talent. Shin Yamada's Celtic picture looks as if he shit himself. It does, doesn't it? I mean, I'm looking at it and he's like, that was a wet one. I'm going to put it up on the screen actually. Um, Caption this. Oh, I'm just going to run with it tonight. Bugger it. Right, let's put this up. You need to caption this picture in the comments before we leave, and then we'll finish up with it. Caption this. Shin Yamada look. I'll put it up there. Get it bigger. Caption this in the comments. What do you think Shin Yamada was thinking at that point when he got his picture taken for Celtic? I mean, was that taken during a game or, I mean, what was it? I mean, caption that in the comments. We'll put him up. Let me jump just to the end of the comments. Gutted for Osmond. Yep. A few players weren't fancied by Brendan Rodgers. Yep, they weren't that. Would you take loans, Baz? Can we trust Nancy to get through to give 3 or 4 year contracts? If Wilfred Nancy brought in another 3 players like Alistair Johnston, yeah. When's Jamie's ducked you back on the wing? How massive is the cup final? Massive. We'll talk about that later in the week. Where am I? Oi, oi, oi. You're playing up front on Saturday, Shin. Oh no, I've followed through. I've just touched cloths. Oh, ay, ay, ay. Osman would never have missed the Maeda chances on Sunday. Yeah, this is true. I thought that was real. This Chinese is running through me. Is he the interpreter? He's just farted. Yep, still follow the Jersey Evening Post. Still my favourite place to visit, even though it's changed from the 70s onwards. I bet it has. Did I clear my browsing history? Hope nobody smells that. Salt and sauce, what the fuck's that? Mommy, daddy. He's holding his cheeks together there. Yeah, that's the oh god. Oh manager. Three managers. Three managers. Balak Wisha, Shin, Inamura, Bernardo have all been left on the bench, not even selected. Um They must be dreadful in training. Yep, Hoots couldn't believe it was down. Dodgy fish supper. just the fucking can't he say that? Chicken fried rice. Did I turn off the gas? Oh man, that's cheered me up tonight. Anyway, thank you to everyone. Thank you to everyone who has been on the video tonight. There has been over There's been over 1,700 people. That's good. That's good in an hour. There's been over 1,700 people on the live tonight. 1,730 people have been on the live. Big shout out to Danny Cassie, who was first up with a super chat. And then Gareth, come up with a super chat also. Stephen Johnston, as always. And then Danny Cassie coming with one as well. And Stephen Johnston says, make sure to hit the thumbs up, people. Anyway, there's only been 81 thumbs up all night, but that doesn't really matter because there has been 1,734 people on the video this evening. A big thank you to every single one of you. I will be, Michelle, you're going to the final. Get Sinisalo on for the final. Didn't get me started about that. Translate this. Where's the loot? Aye, aye, aye. I'm loving these. It's the he just shot himself. And maybe are the Rangers coming yet? Well, that's a good one. A good one. Chinese is how much? Oh yeah, yeah. Anyway, Liam, what's your email? If you've got tickets, I want a ticket for the game. I fly back in on Friday morning. Fly into I was going to tell you where to fly into. I'm not going to tell you that. Anyway, have an absolutely fantastic day, Celtic fans, wherever you are, all around the world. Mad.